welcome. So the purpose of these Thursday lessons is to show you how a little bit of change really yields out quite a different result. And then you can decide if you like that change and want to do that, or if you feel like, no, that's too much. My goal is to do little bitty steps so that you feel really, oh, I can do this. And today, this is a good example. So a customer sent me this picture. Let's take a look at it first. And the question was, she asked me if I would make a new pattern to match this. And clearly, we don't need a new pattern. You know, I hate to say no, but we don't need a new pattern. So we're going to just do 3 little steps today so that you can take the 195, which is our base sweater set, and make it into this top that you're looking at. So the goal is to keep it simple, keep it easy, and I'm going to walk you through and do hopefully all of those things. So again, we're going to start with 195 is our sweater set. I actually used the cardigan because the cardigan and the t-shirt are the same. The cardigan just has a center front seam because it's worn open, and that's what I wanted. I want a center front seam because on this particular case you're doing a V-neck. So let's look at the pattern, and let's look at the pattern changes first. You're going to make 3 little changes. The very first change you're going to make as you look at these pattern pieces is you're going to have a center front seam. In order to do a V-neck, we need a center front seam. So we're going to add that center front seam 3/8, and we're going to do just perfect. The next thing we're going to do, same page, is, and this is styling now, so you can kind of do however you want to do, but notice that the neckline, I added length, but that's just because I wanted to wear it with my jeans and I wanted to wear it with black leggings to dress it up. So those were the 2 directions I was going in. So I added length. That's optional. But if you look at the neckline, because the original picture, the neckline was a little bit lower, notice where I took away both from the front and the back, and that means I just widened and opened up the neckline, and I did 1 inch on that. So 1 inch completely off the front, as you can see that red marking, and 1 inch completely off the back, as you can see with that red marking. Those are all the pattern changes I did. One more, sorry. If we look at the next picture, to make the V, we're going to use the French curve. And again, this is styling, but what I did is I used the convex portion, and you can see this picture showing you, and I put 18 at the neck edge, and I put 13, I'm sorry, 13, it was 5 inches. I put 13 to center front. So you can see how wide you make that V, how low you make that V. All of that is your styling and your choice, so you can do it however you want. But notice that I did use the convex side as opposed to using the concave side of the curve. I mean, the same side, just flip the opposite direction. I may have said that wrong. But basically, so that what it does is it widens that V up. It widens it out without really showing anything more. So just a little trick that you might find to be helpful. But again, the length and the width of that opening is all up to you. Okay, so that's what I did to the pattern. I cut it out. I'm using this fabric that is just brand new up. It's phenomenal. It's 100% rayon. It's like a slinky knit or an ITY knit, but it's 100% rayon. So the burn, I burned it, and I mean, it's just a completely clean burn. I was shocked. I really was. It actually, I believe there's a silk element to it, because that gives it, it's got a little bit of crisp to it, but it has a beautiful burn. So I think, now saying all of this, rayon burns very cleanly. Silk extinguishes itself, but silk has a little crisp to it. There's a little crisp to this after the burn, but it burned cleanly, which leads me to believe it's probably a combination of silk and rayon. But nonetheless, it has just, as you can see, just beautiful drape, and it feels scrumptious on. So that was exciting to me to, you know, use a great fabric. But clearly you could do it out of a woven because you've got this neckline low enough that you could get it over and off your head. You could do a sleeveless shell. There's just so many different versions. It would all be just great. Okay, so seeing that, now what I want to show you is when you go to sew it, you're going to sew the center front seam up to where the V is, and then just press open that seam and then top stitch. And I'll show you a close-up of this here in just a minute. Make everything the same way. Add your sleeves or no sleeves, whatever you decide to do. But I want to show you this next photo because you're going to add this fold over trim. And when you're adding the fold over trim, you want to add it just as if the neckline is there. So if you notice, what I did is I measured the gap that was as it laid flat. there was a 2-inch gap there at the neckline. I want to at least leave it. It could be a little less, but I want to make sure I preserve it when I put on that fold over elastic. So my neckline measured 23 inches and I cut my fold over elastic 21 inches. So I only took out of the whole entire neckline just a little bit of weight. It's like 10% typically. So I took a little bit away and just put it on just as normal. And when I went through this portion, this little neckline portion here, I just stitched it to itself. So just fun, easy. You don't need a new pattern. So much easier to, I think, to make those few changes than to start all over in a new pattern. You've already got your sweater set. You know you love it. It fits beautifully. So this is fun and easy. I want to show you this last picture. It's a close-up of the neckline after I pressed it and, you know, did everything. I did top stitch my V in a net in a black. You could do same tone on tone. Again, I wanted to make sure I could pair it with a black pair of slacks or dress it up to black or, you know, whatever the balance wanted to be. And then finish it up. So the goal is happy sewing from Silhouette Patterns.